When Ganoon Diop, the SDA Director of PARL, Public Affairs and Religious Liberty, met with Pope Francis, shook his hand, smiled in his face, being very cordial, I asked myself the question, after seeing that abomination, that apostasy, what is a worse thing that can take place from leaders of this SDA organization? What I'm going to share with you today, if it is not worse, it is on par with that apostasy. Also, we'll be addressing Pope Francis has reinstated a particular title from the Dark Ages. What does that mean for God's commandment-keeping people in these last days? Do you realize Satan, the Pope, and many, not all, many SDA leaders, their agenda is simply to silence God's watchmen. Yes, to destroy their influence, and if possible, to martyr them. That's their objective. All these things we're going to be addressing today, as well as the three last deceptions that are rife in the Seventh-day Adventist movement. If you can silence, destroy the watchmen, you can take the city. Let's get right into it. Greetings, salutations to Safe to Serve International and first-time viewers. Welcome to this Midday Power Surge. I'm your host, Andrew Henriquez. Well, friends, what is as worse as Ganoon Diop meeting with Pope Francis is actually calling God's faithful watchmen, God's faithful preachers who live and present the everlasting gospel of the three angels' messages of Revelation chapter 14, those who are preaching against Babylon, those who are exposing the abominations of Babylon, the apostasies in the SDA movement, yes, calling people to conversion, calling people to Christ Jesus, calling people to receive victory over sin, uplifting God's reforms. He calls those people violent, those people terrorists.
Now, the fruit of the Holy Spirit exclude violence against others. If we go after people's faith, it is irresponsible. Why? Because we put, in fact, Seventh-day Adventist lives in danger. And that would be reckless. We have to remember, we are a restorationist movement, not a sectarian, violent breed of believers, closet terrorists, in fact.
And of course, I covered these points on yesterday for the Midday Power Surge. I want to say something. I don't want anyone to miss the following words. Some SDAs are going to simply discard this. They're going to be incredulous, etc., because they don't see how what I've already covered applies to them. Any one of you who is presently a cynic, who don't see how this will affect you physically, mentally, and spiritually, stay tuned to these words in the Bible. Let me remind you of what's in the Bible. In the Bible, do you realize that the apostasies of the fathers, the apostasies of the church leaders of Israel led to the common people in their tents, in their homes, in their villages, suffering as a result? Nobody can refute that. Let me give you several examples. Do you remember King Hezekiah? Evangelist Ryan made mention of him on yesterday. I said I would come back to him. I did not get the chance. So much to cover. So much to cover. Hezekiah. When Hezekiah began to shear what he should not shear, with the men of Babylon, do you remember when he was once sick and then God healed him, etc.? The men from Babylon came down. Instead of witnessing to them, he began to become proud, prideful, etc. You know the story. And God sent Isaiah, a watchman. Go tell Hezekiah because of his apostasy, all of the Hebrews, all of the Israelites are going down into Babylonian captivity. That's one example. Let me give the first example. Whose sin has caused all of us to suffer? Watch this. Whose sin has caused Christ, the innocent, to suffer? Adam's sin. You see it now? And Adam, the progenitor of the race. Adam, the forerunner. Adam, the father of the human race. First man, Adam. Because of his apostasy, all of us have been suffering. Yes, we have a choice to make. But remember, sin is also in the environment. Nobody can refute that. You have Eli. The people suffered because of Eli's apostasy. Hophni and Phinehas. Do you remember the 12 spies who went over into Canaan? Because of their doubting, their unbelief, a whole race of people had to go back 40 years in the wilderness and suffered. Children and parents. It's clear in the Bible, my friends. So don't you overlook this. Ezekiel chapter 8, verse 16. The leaders turned their backs to God's temple and their faces toward the east and worshiped the sun. When they did that as leaders, 25 men, what happened? Ezekiel 9, slay all the people who are in apostasy. The leaders' apostasies led to the people suffering. Annas and Caiaphas, the Jewish leaders, persuaded the people to ask for Barabbas and to crucify Christ. And Christ was a watchman. I hope that answered your question. How does this man's, give it to me, preacher, this man's apostasy affect me? The leaders' apostasies will cause the people in the pews to suffer. Don't you miss that. Isaiah 21. Their objective is to silence the watchmen. I'll give you 3 examples of this. Isaiah 21, verse number 6 says, God has set up a watchman in Israel. Listen to this attentively. What must the watchman see? He's always vigilant. Look at verse number 9. What does the watchman on the watchtower say he saw or sees? He answered, I see a lion coming. Verse 8, verse 9, the lion is Babylon is fallen, is fallen. So what must be the message of God's watchman? Babylon is fallen, is fallen. That's the second angel's message. Come out of Babylon, not go into Babylon. Don't form an ecumenical alliance with Babylon, but Ganundi up with Ted Wilson and the SDA leaders. They want to silence the watchmen, even kill the watchmen, destroy their influence. Along with preaching, Babylon is fallen, is fallen. Here's the work of preparation now. Verse number 11, watchmen, what of the night? The morning cometh, and also the night. And verse number 12, it says, if you will inquire ye, return and come. You have backslidden, return, come. The work of preparation. We are told, my friends, it's a backsliding church that lessens the distance between itself and the papacy. We covered that on yesterday. An ecumenical alliance. Where are the watchmen? And Great Controversy, page 566 says, God has raised up the Seventh-day Adventist movement. Watch carefully, my friends. To expose the wickedness of the man of sin. To expose popery. To expose popery. Not to form an ecumenical alliance with popery. Don't forget which book this is coming from. Evangelism, back to Great Controversy. Protestants have tampered with, patronized popery. Protestants have made compromises and concessions with popery. Even papists are surprised to see how Protestants are uniting with them. Last sentence. The people need to be aroused to resist the advances of this most, what a superlative, this most dangerous foe to civil and religious liberty. With that in mind, where are the watchmen? Friends, I must confess, Today, I actually had a special guest for you. This special guest, I called him on yesterday. We were speaking on the phone, and he shared a current event with me. I said, brother, I'm going to bring you on tomorrow. Share this with the people. And we were trying to get him situated, etc., video and audio, and we could not get things fixed in time. So by God's grace, I'm going to bring him back on shortly. What was he going to share? Watch this. It's the Pope reinstating a papal title. And what is that title? It's called Patriarch of the West. Patriarch of the West. First sentence. In the 2024 edition of the Pontifical Yearbook, released this week, Pope Francis reinstated the ancient honorary pontifical title, Patriarch of the West. Now, why is that significant? Here's one reason. Reversing Pope Benedict XVI's 2006 decision to suspend the title. I'll get to that. Why did Pope Benedict suspend that title in 2006, not use it at all? But Pope Francis has now reinstated it. Why would he do it? Because remember, I'll get to that. Look at this, my friends. Patriarch. What does patriarch mean? The textbook definition: a man who controls a family, a man who controls a group, a man who controls a government. Patriarch, father, patriarch, papa, patriarch, pope, patriarch of the West. The West. The West. Friends, it says this honorific designation has reappeared among the list of historical titles, such as the Vicar of Christ, the Vicar of Jesus Christ, which is Antichrist. Popery is Antichrist. So it shows popery has not changed, but Protestants have changed. Popery cannot change. That's why chapter 13 of Revelation identifies popery as the leopard. Verse 2. And Jeremiah chapter 13, verse 20 and verse 23, she cannot change, as the leopard cannot change its spots. Look at this now. So the question is why? All right, friends, here it is. It says, following Pope Benedict XVI's decision to drop the title in 2006. Why did that Pope not use that title? Why? He says, it was obsolete, no longer usable. This was the Department for Promoting Christian Unity. Second paragraph, quote, the renunciation of this title is intended to express historical and theological realism, a renunciation that could be of benefit to ecumenical dialogue in North America. What? So, my friends, Pope Benedict XVI did not use a title, Patriarch of the West, because he says it would hinder ecumenical alliance with the churches in North America. That's what it says. Don't take my words for it. I'm simply reading what the Department for Promoting Christian Unity said. It's to bring about ecumenical alliance, uniting churches under popery. And that might be too offensive. Just as Great Controversy says in page 571, the papacy is just what prophecy declared that she should be: the apostasy of the latter times. It is a part of her policy to assume the character which will best accomplish her purpose, but beneath the changeable appearance of the chameleon, she conceals the unchangeable venom of the serpent. Yes, friends. Do you see it now? So they use titles suspend titles to get an objective accomplished, unite all the churches, and then they reinstate titles to show you the objective is already fulfilled. Why would Pope Francis now reinstate and reinstitute the title Patriarch of the West? Do you know why? Because the protest is over. The protest is over. So no longer do we need to hide under this veneer. Now we can use the title again. The protest is over. The ecumenical alliances with the churches have already taken place. Tony Palmer, the media says he's dead. Hear what he says.
This brought an end to the protest of Luther. Brothers and sisters, Luther's protest is over. Is yours. There's a challenge for you. So the protest has been over for 15 years. And I get a bit cheeky here because I challenge my Protestant pastor friends. If there is no more protest, how can there be a Protestant church? Maybe we're all Catholics again.
Remember, there's a grain of truth in every joke. Now notice, I'm going to ask one question, and that is, based on the Bible, which is the final and only true Protestant denomination? Seventh-day Adventist, period. Have we joined an ecumenical alliance with Popery? That's why the Pope now can reinstitute the title Patriarch of the West. Here it is, my friends. Here it is. Ganundia, PARL of the SDA. That's it, friends. Uniting with Popery. It's not my Jesus versus your Jesus, but our Jesus. Pope says to ecumenical group. And who was present? Ganundia. The General Conference of Seventh-day Adventists. My friends, the guest who was going to come and share with you today stated the title Patriarch of the West was actually used in the past by the popes to show that they were going to dominate nations. It came at a time when Popery uprooted the three horns, the three nations, brought to view in Daniel 7, verse 7 and verse 8. Daniel 7, verse 23 through verse 25. That was a time when the Roman Catholic Church leaders, the Pope, adopted the title Patriarch of the West, Patriarch of the East. When they're uprooting powers and religions that were contrary to them. So why would the Pope reinstate this title now? Oh, I wished my guest was on today. Come back here. There it is. From Antichrist to brother in Christ. How Protestant pastors now view the Pope. They're not, my friends, we have SDA leaders reaching across the gulf to grasp the hand of the Roman power and spiritualism. Apostasy at its highest order. We have far more to fear from within than from without. And we're being raised up, yes, to warn the people of this most dangerous foe to civil and religious liberty. Stop right there, friends. In my hand, I don't want to use the Bible. In my hand, I have a phone. If this phone represents sin, and I do not surrender sins, and Christ comes to destroy sin, and I hold on to sin, what's going to happen to me and the phone and sin? We'll be destroyed together. Here's my point. We have been called to expose a man of sin. So whoever, give me that visual aid, my preacher here, elder, whoever joins with the man of sin must also be exposed. Is that a nail in a sure place? Yes. Where are the watchmen? Watch this now. It says, we must expose the wickedness of the man of sin. Watch this, my friends. The title, Patriarch of the West, was adopted in the year 642 by Pope Theodore and was used for centuries, though it was not until 1863, during the pontificate of Pope Pius IX, that this title first appeared in the Pontifical Yearbook. Which pope was this that used Patriarch of the West? Which pope was this, my friends? It was Pope Pius IX. The second paragraph says, we must study history to understand the Patriarch of the West. This is Pope Pius IX in 1863. Sister White writes about Pope Pius IX in 1863. Do you know what he said? Here it is. The Constitution of the United States guarantees liberty of conscience. Quote, the absurd and erroneous doctrines or ravings in defense of liberty of conscience are a most pestilential error, a pest of all others, most to be dreaded in a state. This is Pope Pius IX in 1854 and 1864. And what year did he adopt the title? In 1863. Patriarch of the West is to overthrow the U.S. Constitution, brothers and sisters. Last sentence, he writes, the church must anathematize those who assert the liberty of conscience and of religious worship. Also, all such as maintain the church may not employ force. The same sentiments of Ganun Diop and many GC leaders of SDA. Anathematize, silence those preachers who are against us, our ecumenical alliance. So when the Pope has now reinstated this title, what is about to take place in America? What is about to take place in the SDA church as it relates to our freedoms? The coming mark of the beast crisis. Where are the watchmen? Notice here, my friends, this is Isaiah chapter 62. And verse number 6 says, I have set you a watchman. Keep watch day and night. I'll set you a watchman. Keep not silence. Patriarch of the West. And what does the Pope say, my friends? To understand me, read the book, Lord of the World, Patriarch, Lord, Patriarch, Father. Martin Luther said, the Pope has used that title before, but he's actually Antichrist. Yeah, that's what he said. And friends, we are told, we are called to expose the wickedness of the man of sin. Here it is now. Watch carefully. The three last deceptions to silence the watchmen. Here's number one. Number one, first, in the SDA church, they must attempt to silence preachers who are protesting against the apostasies in the SDA church and against the sins of Babylon. Silence those preachers. That's number one. That's exactly what Ganun Diop, exactly what Ted Wilson, and many of the other GC leaders and pastors are now doing. Silence the watchmen. The sins of Babylon must be laid open. Watch this.
Now, the fruit of the Holy Spirit exclude violence against others. If we go after people's faith, it is in fact what happens in court, in a country, resulting in the incarceration of a union president and a treasurer, was retaliation for aggressive anti-Catholic rhetoric in that country by Seventh-day Adventists. A judge decided to push back against Adventist leaders.
So don't be anti-Catholic. Watch this statement, my friends. This is coming from the Catholic newspaper. Watch carefully. Point C. Seventh-day Adventism cannot cease to be anti-Catholic without ceasing to be Seventh-day Adventist. Do I need to repeat that? This is the first of 3 last deceptions in the SDA church. So Ganun Diop is actually telling us he is a closet Catholic, but calling us a closet terrorist. Here he is. Come on, speak.
We have to remember, we are a restorationist movement, not a sectarian, violent breed of believers, closet terrorists, in fact.
Yeah, so we know who he is. If you're going to be anti-Catholic, you're no longer a Seventh-day Adventist. Watch this now.
The organizations that we have been attending as a church since 1957 is the Conference of General Secretaries of Christian World Communions.
Listen.
These are top leaders of other Christian denominations, secretary generals, and all the major Christian churches are actually represented there. I mean, those churches which are recognized as genuine Christian church.
Yeah. Calling the Roman Catholic Church a genuine Christian church. You mean the same Roman Catholic Church that supports and protects pedophile priests? That's a genuine Christian church? And move them around to molest more children? That same church that has murdered millions of people? It's right there in Great Controversy, page 571, paragraph 2. It's right there. It's not a Christian church. Do you know, even in the secular press does not call the Catholic Church a Christian organization. It would say the evangelicals, or it would say the Christian churches and the Catholic Church. It does not put Roman Catholics under the umbrella of Christianity. It does not. But Ganun Diop says it's a genuine Christian church. That's number one. Silence the preachers. Watch this now. The second attack to silence the Watchmen is to destroy the book Great Controversy. To do what? To destroy the book Great Controversy. How are we going to expose the wickedness of the man of sin? God gave us the writings of Ellen White, especially the book The Great Controversy. On page 612, we read, the publications, the books would do its work. Family connections, church relations are powerless and will be powerless to stop people from accepting the truth. It is the books that would do the work, along with preachers, the books. As long as probation continues, literature evangelism, the canvassing work will go forward. More than 1,000 people will soon be converted in one day because they have read the book, The Great Controversy. Sister White says, the Great Controversy should be very widely circulated. It contains the history of the past, present, and the future. I'm more anxious that this book, more than all my other books, should be in circulation. Why does she say that? Why? Because she says it exposes Satan and his deceptions. And Satan is going to do everything to keep that book from the people. Yes, it's right there. And Satan will present plans which appear to be for the promulgation of truth, but which will be in reality to hinder God's work. Put forth the book Great Controversy. Silence the Watchmen. And which book did Satan attempt to kill Sister White as she was writing? The book Great Controversy. It's right there in the paragraph. What has the SDA church done? Look at this now. Look at this now. It's the silence the watchmen. There was a general conference meeting in the year 2000. And there were some Seventh-day Adventists in Indianapolis sharing the book Great Controversy. Listen what was written by a leader of the SDA denomination. The book Great Controversy is anti-Catholic. And that book belongs in the trash can. That's what she said. Now stop right there. Since this book is to expose Babylon and win souls to Christ's present truth, why would the SDA leader say that book is anti-Catholic and belongs in a trash can? It's the silence the watchmen. I don't repeat things because I have nothing else to say. I repeated what Ganun Diop has said, what I covered yesterday, today, to show you the connecting links. Isolated as events, you won't see the big picture. But when they are conflated, you say, okay, I see the big picture. Who was that GC president in 2000? That book belongs in the trash can. That same leader, John Paulson, I covered on yesterday, who actually said, we must share with the Roman Catholics our vision and mission and unite with them in an ecumenical alliance. That's why they despise the book, The Great Controversy. You see my point now? To silence the watchmen. Over here, preacher. To silence the watchmen. That's their agenda. Here is Ted Wilson, Ted Wilson's father. This is stated that this was before the courts in America. Hear what he says. Although it is true, Neil Wilson, left off your screen, although it is true that there was a period in the life of the Seventh-day Adventist Church when the denomination took a distinctly anti-Roman Catholic viewpoint, that attitude on the church's part was nothing more than a manifestation of widespread anti-popery among conservative Protestant denominations in the early part of this century and the latter part of the last, and which has now been consigned to the historical trash heap so far as the Seventh-day Adventist Church is concerned. That's a sworn testimony. Silence the watchmen. These preachers, Ganun Diop, anti-Catholic, and Ted Wilson sat there as the chair of the spring meeting, April 9th, 2024. His father said the book Great Controversy belongs to the historical trash heap. It's anti-Catholic. What? If you cease to be anti-Catholic, you cease to be Seventh-day Adventist. That's why we cover these things. Where are the watchmen? Oh, but you say, what leaders do doesn't affect us. Is that so? I just destroyed that argument. That's why they printed the book Great Hope. Now, the son, Ted Wilson, said to the worldwide church, we are going to print and distribute the book Great Controversy. He did not say an abridged version. We have Desire of Ages, an abridged version. Full version and abridged. Several books. We have Ministry of Healing, an abridged version. He did not say an abridged version. Hear me now. If God wanted an abridged version of Great Controversy to be given to the church and the world, he would not have given Ellen White all those visions and dreams and words to comprise a book of almost 700 pages. When Sister White says the book Great Controversy, she's not talking about an abridged version. Now it makes sense. As the Father saw with the Son, like mother, like daughter. Silence the watchmen. That's number 2. Silence the books. Do you realize in many conferences, the literature evangelism work has ceased? Publishing houses in the SDA denomination have closed down. Like what? How do you close down publishing houses? How? Why? But you have SDA monies in the stock market buying ammunitions and God knows what else. Wasting God's money with George Soros. That's what Jonathan said yesterday in that clip on the floor of the GC session. Ganon Diop, PARL, are using God's money to support movements from George Soros. But we are closing down publishing houses. Why are we doing that? Silence the protest. Some people, it's so difficult to find the book Great Controversy. Elder Buchanan, you're from Canada, right? Some of you didn't hear him. It's almost impossible to ship and to receive the book Great Controversy in Canada. And the SDAs, the majority of them, will have nothing to do with this book. You see my point? The big picture. Silence the preachers, you're anti-Catholic. Throw away the book Great Controversy, it's anti-Catholic. You see the point now, friends? It's all connected. Number 3. The third of the last deceptions, which I'll cover today, there's several more, is to weaken and destroy Sister White's influence in the church. This is a general conference session again. In the year 2005, here it is, World Church Spirit of Prophecy Resolution voted. Points church to the Bible. It says, Sister White's writings can enrich but not define our faith and practice. Here's my question. Do you not say in your books, as SDA denomination, organization, that Sister White is an extension of the prophets in the Bible? The testimony of Jesus, the prophet, inspired messenger? What if the people were to say that the writings of Moses can enrich but not define our faith and practice? Huh? Oh, Samuel's writings, you see my point? Can enrich but not define faith and practice. That would be heresy. But we're saying the same things today. That was voted by General Conference leaders and delegates. Where are the watchmen? Silencing the watchmen. Here it is. In 2016, they said the very same thing. You can pause the video and read that. Move on from that. In 2015, another General Conference session. What did they write? Friends, they edited what they already had in the book 27 Fundamental Beliefs. Now it's 28 Fundamental Beliefs. They won't stop. Weakening Sister White's influence in the church. I wonder why. Here is Sister White now. Satan is constantly pressing in the spurious to lead away from the truth. The very last deception of Satan will be to make of none effect the testimony of the Spirit of God. Do you see it now? To make of none effect the spirit of prophecy, because where there is no vision, the people perish. Satan will work ingeniously in different ways through different agencies to unsettle the confidence of God's remnant people in the true testimony. Back to my point, and after there was a solemn protest, now some GC leaders who were in apostasy, demoting Sister White subtly, now they're saying, well, let's study the book Great Controversy. Deception. Come back here. She says Satan cannot have so clear a track to bring in his deceptions and bind up souls in his delusions if the warnings and reproofs and counsels of God's Spirit are heeded. Destroy the influence of the spirit of prophecy. You destroy the church. Where are the watchmen, my friends? The very last deception of Satan is to make of none effect. Do you know why it's the last? Some people are going to say, well, that's Sister White's writings. Let me give you a Bible. In 2 Chronicles, chapter 36, put it down. Verse 13, put it down. Through verse 17, the final sin that was mentioned before Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon destroyed Solomon's temple was that they rejected the prophets. They killed the prophets, misused the prophets, rejected the prophets until the wrath of God was poured out upon the whole nation until there was no remedy. So what was the final sin that brought the close of probation on the Jewish folks by Babylon? Rejecting the prophets. You see my point? That's Old Testament. What about New Testament? Put it down. Matthew 23, verse 37 through verse 39. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou that killest the prophets and stonest them which I send unto you. How often would I have gathered thee as a hen gathereth her chickens under her wings, but you would not. Your house is your church now. Your house is left unto you desolate. What was the last sin there? O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou that killest the prophets. O Seventh-day Adventist, thou that killest the prophets. Oh, you're too anti-Catholic. You're violent. You're a terrorist. You see it now? Demoting the book Great Controversy, weakening Sister White's influence in the church. The 3 last deceptions to silence the watchmen. We are told, my friends, watch carefully. We are told, my friends, in the book Jeremiah. Let me close. You see, friends, if I don't close right now, we won't close for today. Jeremiah chapter 6. Once the point is made, I can close. Jeremiah chapter 6. Jesus says, thus saith the Lord, verse 16, stand you in the way and see, and ask for the old path. Where is the good way? And walk therein, and you shall find rest unto your souls. But some say, we will not walk therein. Verse 17, is that you? Is that you? Verse 17 says now, also I set watchmen over you, saying, hearken to the sound of the trumpet. But you all said, we will not. Trumpet, Isaiah 58, verse 1. Cry aloud, spare not. Lift up thy voice like a trumpet. Show my people their sin, and the house of Jacob their transgressions. But Isaiah chapter 56 now, and verse number 10 says, many of these so-called pastors and SDA administrators and SDA theologians and professors, they are dumb dogs. Verse number 10 says, his watchmen, that's in the church, his watchmen are blind. They are all ignorant. They are all dumb dogs. They cannot bark. Not that they will not bark. They cannot bark. Listen, friends, sleeping, lying down, and loving to slumber. Yes. Let me be clear. The GC leaders, many of them, union leaders, conference leaders, local SDA pastors, not all, but the majority of them who are in apostasy. As long as there are men in the conferences and the schools, universities saying, stay right there in the church with no qualifications. Stay right there. It's God's church. Stay right there in the church with no qualifications. As long as they keep on saying, stay right there in the church, the leaders know, as long as the people are here, we can continue our new movement. We can continue on the trajectory of sin because they will keep returning to our local churches. They will keep on returning tithe and offerings. Stay right here. I wonder whose side these men are on. whose side these men are on. I close Ezekiel chapter 3, that God set Ezekiel as a watchman, and God said to Ezekiel, Ezekiel, do not fear their faces. I'm going to close right here. Ezekiel chapter 2 and verse number 5, Ezekiel, I set you as a watchman to the rebellious house. The church is rebellious. And verse number 6, Ezekiel, he says, be not afraid of their words. Andrew Enriquez, don't be afraid of their comments in the comment section. Andrew Henriquez, don't be afraid of the other videos, reactionary videos to this video and yesterday's and previous one. Don't be afraid of their words. Safe to Serve International, Safe to Serve Local, don't be afraid of their words. Those of you in the studio right now, don't be afraid of their words. Let me talk to you. Safe to Serve International, don't fear their faces. All right. Nor be dismayed at their looks, though they be a rebellious house. But thou shalt speak my words unto them. Some will hear, some will forbear, for they are most rebellious. And then Ezekiel chapter 3 and verse 17 says, Ezekiel, I've set you a watchman. Ezekiel, if you don't want the people and the people die in their sins, Ezekiel, their blood will be on your shoulder. Their blood will I, God, require from your hand. You'll be held guilty. You'll be lost. But if you warn them, and some are saved, I'll honor you. If you warn them, and yet they remain rebellious, I will release you from destruction. You have delivered thy soul. What point stood out to you today? Let me get those comments in the comment section. Friends, it's time for us to stop fearing what people think and present present truth. And I know they're going to say, be aware of Pastor Henriquez. He's calling Church Babylon. Say, show me where he has ever said that. How many videos and articles have we written where we said that, even intimated that? And if you're going to be truthful, it must be verbatim. Where has he called the church Babylon? Where? Where has he called people out of the church? I've always called people from apostasy into present truth, wherever you can find it. If it's a conference church or an independent SDA church of the conference, truth is what saves. Imagine the charge against me. I'm calling people not to a church organization first, but to Jesus and his truth. Once you find that, then you can identify the true church. That's it, friends. I leave it there. By God's grace, I'll see you tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern for Midday Power Surge, and possibly I'll get my special guest, Maranatha. And remember, the protest continues.